So last night's homework was a perfect representation of what you can expect to see on the quiz we're going to have tomorrow on latitude and longitude. So again, if you didn't notice that on the board yesterday, we do have a quiz tomorrow. It's all on latitude and longitude, all the stuff we've done up until today. So let me just going back. So I guess technically this stuff wasn't latitude and longitude, but this will be fair game on the quiz. So knowing how to use that reference table on the front page of your packet the front page of your reference table. So we've got what all those different spheres are made out of. So we've got the rocks, the water, the air, and then knowing how to read this chart is on the quiz. This was practice of that. So keep flipping through. Then we get to the latitude and longitude stuff. Everything that is on this page right here, so page 7, absolutely will be on the quiz tomorrow. So knowing that the equator is 0 for latitude, prime meridian 0 for the longitude. I guess technically you don't need to know what they're called, but you do need to know which way they go. So the latitude, those ones are parallel horizontal across the Earth's surface, while the lines of longitude, they are the up and down ones, and they end up looking like this, where they meet at the poles, while the latitude lines, they're nice and parallel and don't touch. You do need to remember that latitude measures degrees north or south of the equator. Oh my gosh, my words. And the longitude, they measure how far east or west of the prime meridian you are. You do need to know the highest degrees for each. I cannot stress enough how much you need to remember the last part down here. For latitude, altitude of Polaris is equal to your latitude. So it just means how high Polaris is in the sky, the North Star, is just equal to your latitude in the northern hemisphere. You can't see Polaris in the southern hemisphere. And then just remember, same longitude means the same time zone. And then finally, yes, you will need to be able to use your reference table on pages 4 and 5 to tell me the latitude and longitude of places around the world. And you do need to know the whole minutes stuff that we did for New York State. And to wrap it up, yes, you do need to know the time zone stuff and the landscape regions that we did yesterday. Everything except for page 1 of your reference table and the landscape regions was on this homework. So this is a really good way to make sure you're ready for that quiz. So hopefully you did try your best on this. Walking around, I saw some good test taking strategies, guys crossing off wrong answers. I definitely want to encourage you to do that. Also, don't forget to read all the words. Can I just, starting to go over this, can I just see a show of fingers what you guys picked for number 1 here? Just to get an idea. Don't worry about what everybody else did. We just care about you. So this asked, great, good to see. Most of you have the correct latitude and longitude. It is number 2. There were some ways to get rid of wrong answers on here. So you could have obviously just gone to A and done the latitude. You can see that latitude, flatitude, they always go first. So that latitude was just below 30. And then you could have done the longitude, which you can see is between 90 and 120 west. But going with crossing off wrong answers, what's wrong with number 1 without really thinking super hard? Answer number 1. What's blaringly wrong with it? What do you mean the other way around? Yeah, they're reversed. Yeah. The other way, what I was hoping you noticed, is there such a place as 105 north? Because remember, what's the highest degree latitude we can have? 90 north. So right off the bat, you could have gotten rid of the 2 that said 105 north. There is no such place as 105 north. So then that did leave you with, is this 25 north and 105 west or east? You did have to locate the prime meridian. There's the prime meridian. If you go this way, that's east. If we went this way, that's west. So it is answer 2. A, B, and E. Sorry, A, B, and E, what do they all have in common? Before you even looked at the answers, what do they all have in common? Take a look at them. Don't look at the answers. What was your gut that they all had in common? They're the same this, which means they're the same longitude. I wanted the answer to be same longitude. Was that one of the answers? It wasn't. They tried to trick you by saying the same latitude. Are they the same latitude? Remember, latitude, flatitude. No way. They're not even close to the same latitude. What did we say on page 7? Same longitude, same time. So that one is answer 3. That is how they're going to ask questions about places being on the same longitude, having the same time. Now I am absolutely curious. Don't look at anybody else's answer and tell me what you answered for number 3. Which one of these is closest to New York State? I am really curious what you guys picked. So I'm seeing some 1s, I'm seeing some 2s, I'm seeing some 3s, and oh boy, I'm also seeing some 4s. So I think we got to go through, how did you guys do this? Like, what method did you use to pick which one was New York State? Go ahead, Lizzie, what'd you do?
I didn't guess.
You just guessed. Like, you look like this looks like New York State? Yeah. How many of you agreed with Lizzie? And that's just, you're like, this looks about where we are. And what did you pick, Lizzie? 3. So you said C. Who else just said that looks like New York State? What'd you guys pick? I heard some 3s and some 2s. Okay. So just looking, so C, by the way, is this guy right here. Did anybody who just looked say it was A? If you did, that was wishful thinking. What's wrong with A? Yeah. A is below the 30 line of longitude. It's between 0 and 30. Now, it kind of looks to me, if I was just to like look, I might have said that. Guys, earth science is never about just like guessing. What did we need to know before we could pinpoint exactly which one was New York State? What would have helped? The latitude and longitude. Now, do you guys have the New York State's latitude and longitude memorized? Some of you are saying you do. I might, only because I've done this many years, but you don't have to. You have a whole reference table that tells you the latitude and longitude of New York State. The latitude of New York State goes from 40 something or 40, 30 up to 45 degrees. Right off the bat, I can get rid of A. A, like Autumn was saying, is too far south. It is not A. For that matter, it's also not D. D's on 60. Can't be D. So we're stuck with B and C. We need to know the exact longitude New York State lives in. So if we're looking at longitude, we go from around 73 to 79 longitude. Which one is correct then? It is C. C is in between 60 and 90, while B was over there between 90 and 120. Never just guess or look or just plain old estimate. Use your reference tables, use your resources. My next question here was about altitude of Polaris. What do we know about altitude of Polaris that you must know to answer this? From page 7, everybody flip back to page 7. What does altitude of Polaris have to do with anything about latitude and longitude? It is your latitude. Altitude of Polaris equals your latitude. So I guess before we go over this, do you guys know what the words due west mean? It literally means you go west, straight west, not a little bit north, not a little bit south. It literally means you're driving due west across New York State. So if you're traveling due west, does your latitude change? if I'm going straight west across New York State. No, I am staying on the same line of latitude. As I go due west, which again means straight west, it means my latitude stays literally exactly the same. So if my latitude's staying the same, what do I know about the altitude of Polaris? It also stays the same. So remember, guys, I need you answering questions when I ask them. It is really important that you're thinking while we're going over these problems. All right, so oh, wow, words. At what latitude would an observer on the Earth find the altitude of Polaris to be 37? And what did we just say? Altitude of Polaris equals your latitude in the northern hemisphere. So if your altitude of Polaris is 37, what's your latitude? 37. Altitude of Polaris equals your latitude. No thinking required, except there's two 37s. It's 3. What's wrong with 1? It says south. Also, do you notice that they put that first? Remember the number 1 rule of earth science. Read all the words, including that label south, because they did try to trick you there. 53, so just for the record, where that came from is if you had an angle of 37, the rest of this would be 57. They're just trying to mess with you. You don't have to do math for altitude of Polaris. However high Polaris is in the sky, whatever this angle is equal to your latitude. Speaking of, we know their solar time. Oh, this one's a little different. We know the solar time on the prime meridian and your local solar time. Time has to do with which one of these? 1, 2, 3, or 4, everyone. Oh boy. Did you guys look these answers up when you were doing these? No, you're supposed to. So when you're doing homework, especially before a quiz, you got to double check your answer. So look back in your notes. So why doesn't everybody go back to page 7 and tell me what time has to do with? Does time tell us the date, the altitude of Polaris, the longitude at which the person is located, or the latitude at which the person is located? Time goes with longitude. Answer 3. Did you guys use your reference table for question 7? You have to, or at least I would have to. So we know the altitude of Polaris is 41. What else do we know then? No, answer me. We know the altitude of Polaris. What else do we know? We know our latitude. We don't know our altitude. We know our latitude. If we know the altitude, we know the latitude. So we know the altitude is 41. So we also know the latitude is 41. So what this question is really asking is, which city is at a latitude of 41? New York City. Did you just memorize that? Yeah, I don't. Take a look here. Go through Watertown. Does it have a latitude of 41? Nope, it's almost 44. So Watertown wasn't it. Messina has an altitude of, or has a latitude, I'm sorry, of around 45, not 41. Buffalo, we're almost a latitude of 43, so not 41. But New York City down here, really close to 41 degrees. Don't do that from memory. Use your reference table. Now we got this thing. What's this thing look like to you guys? It looks like what? Looks like a protractor. And what do you use protractors for? Measuring angles. Here's the horizon. So that's where the ground meets the sky. Here's the angle to Polaris. This is the angle we care about. Altitude of Polaris is how high it is above the ground. So what's that angle? Two ways you could do it. You could either use the measurements that are on it, or is it a 125 angle? No. Is it a 90 angle? This guy right here, not even close. Is it a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger than halfway between 0 and 90? It is a little bit smaller. Or you could have counted 10, 20, 35. Number 9, we've got, so you had to read through this. They noticed that the altitude of Polaris increases each night, but the time stays the same. Altitude of Polaris increases. What else is changing? What way are they going then? They're going north. Remember, the altitude of Polaris equals your latitude. So if it goes from a smaller number to a bigger number, you're going to a higher latitude, which is more north. Which one can be predicted most accurately? That's answer 4. Everything else cannot be predicted accurately. Cross the prime meridian. When you're at the prime meridian, that's a longitude of 0, not a latitude of 0. And altitude of Polaris is 65. So we're 65 degrees north. Can't see it in the south. That's answer 2. They measure the altitude of Polaris to be 0 degrees. That means their latitude is 0 degrees. That means you're at the equator. 13, which one of these is correct? That is answer number 1. Longitude lines touching at the North and South Pole. Latitude lines nice and parallel. Line that passes both through the North Pole and the South Pole. The only place out of these that does that is 0 degrees longitude, the prime meridian. Cities with the same longitude have the same time. Answer number 4 for 15. Go ahead and do the latitude and longitude of location. A, latitude always goes first. That is around 15 degrees south, not north. And this is the prime meridian, so this is east, not west. What is the location of Binghamton, New York? You did have to use your reference table. Binghamton's right there, a little bit north of 42 degrees and a little bit east of 76, which makes that answer number 1. So a little bit bigger than 42 and a little bit less than 76. Altitude of Polaris equals your latitude. So this altitude right there, there's 10, 20, 30, 40 degrees north. Would you guys like me to go over in any detail any more of those? For the remainder of the period, I want you guys to practice this stuff some more. And we're going to flip ahead to page, I guess this is page 18. It is not labeled on the bottom. I would like you guys right now to do questions 1 through 18. I am going to have you work on this alone as review for the region, or not the regions. Well, that too, but review for the quiz tomorrow. We will go over this. So you guys are done here at 28. Okay, so we don't have too long. I'll start at like 21 after going over this. Doesn't give you very long, but a lot of it is pretty simple. Just fill in the blanks. So take a few minutes to finish or to get started and get as far as we can on that. Help you? So where do we have, what is the latitude of the equator? 0. So then, by the way, what's located at 0 degrees latitude? That's the equator. So not trying to trick you, just making sure you realize the same question can be asked 2 different ways with basically the same information. What's the highest degree north latitude? 90 degrees. That the other part over there wanted north. And you might want to remind yourself that that's the North Pole. What's the highest degree south latitude? Again, 90 degrees south, you may want to remind yourself that that's South Pole. What's the highest degree longitude though? 180. And did you remember what that was called, or did you look it up? International Dateline. Which way do latitude lines run? I want you to remember that these go the flat way or horizontal. I did see some people writing that these go east to west. You're not wrong, but I don't like to talk about that because remember that latitude lines measure north to south. You might want to add that note. Measure degrees north or degrees south of the equator. So latitude lines, while they go from, what I'm getting at is they go from east to west across the map, but they measure how far north or how far south of the equator you are. Same idea with longitude. These ones, they're the up and down or vertical. Yes, they do go from north to south, but these ones measure degrees east or degrees west of the prime meridian. Using reference table on page 3, did you figure out what city was here at 42 degrees 6 minutes and 75 degrees 55 minutes? Binghamton. Binghamton. So biggest problem, oops, wrong one, you need. So again, we were just a little bit above 42. So literally all of these were looking like they were going to be it. But the 75, so here's 75, 55 minutes is almost to 76. So that's Binghamton right there. What city has a measurement of altitude of Polaris of 41? Again, that same question was on the homework. That is New York City. Name 2 cities located at the approximate same latitude as Binghamton. You could have had multiple different answers. There's latitude. So Elmira's the same latitude. Jamestown's just about the same latitude. And if you went the other way, Slidemount and Kingston are both also really close to the same latitude as Binghamton. Now, same longitude for Ithaca. There's Ithaca, longitude goes this way, so that would be Oswego. So for number 13, what does an observer know if they know the altitude of Polaris? What is it? If you know Polaris, you know your latitude. What happens to Polaris as you go due north? If you're going up, since it's equal to your latitude, if you're going north, what happens to your latitude as you go north? It also goes up. So then what happens to Polaris? It goes up. But what happens to Polaris when you go due west? Stays the same. What landscape region is 44 north and 75 west? That is the Adirondacks. Had to use both maps at the same time to figure that one out. And what is located at 4330 and 78 degrees west? Right here, Lake Ontario. What direction does the Niagara River flow? Remember, it flows north because of the latitude or the elevation of 175 and an elevation of 75. So Niagara River flows due north. So please take a moment to review tonight the couple things that we didn't talk about. Please don't forget the front page of the reference table is fair game for tomorrow's quiz.